BMW will open a plot graph. Harley will wave the flag. Triumph will show you its accessory catalog. Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha will hand in their traced art. But all know that Honda makes the greatest bike on this spinning lava rock, the Goldwing.
I am a Goldwing. I am a Honda.
Honda started work on the Goldwing in 1972 to outdo their own CB750. The goal was to create the perfect touring motorcycle. And also, Honda created the Goldwing to make Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki shut their mouths and look at their shoes. See, by the early 1970s, every Japanese manufacturer made medium and large displacement inline four-cylinder sport and touring motorcycles with lots of accessories for riding long distances: windshields, hard bags, top cases, crash bars, backrests, and running lights. So Honda goes, hold up. We started this craze in '69, and we still own it. We're gonna give you something smoother, quieter, and way faster. By 1974, Honda laid down the GL1000, the first Goldwing. And in the face of convention, the big motorcycle had a flat 80 horsepower engine, as opposed to the UJM transverse 4s that were everywhere. That 999cc flat 4 created a visually distinctive side profile with its chromed intakes and jutting valve covers. By 1985, carburetors became injectors and displacement was up to 1.2 liters or near enough. By 1987, 4 cylinders became 6 cylinders and displacement is now 1.5 liters and power is a proud 100 horsepower, although I think that's rated at the crank. This is a 2008 model. The Honda Goldwing is a bit like a V6 Honda Accord on 2 wheels. It hauls ass like a sumo wrestler, and bypasses stuff like standard ABS braking in favor of more powerful stock engines. Now, this particular Goldwing is not the total package when it comes to features. It's the more complete experience, to the point where it could realistically be the last bike you ever need to buy. But more than all of that, this GL 1800A is proof that we don't have to romanticize kickstart bikes. We have better options now. There are no mods or any big special features on this bike. This is a base model. It's got a 4-speaker stereo, but in that trade-off, there's no ABS brakes, no sat navigation, but you can get all of those things as options. It's just they're going to cost you. The MSRP for a base model Goldwing in 2008 was around $25,000, but the price climbs to over $30,000 when fully loaded with all the trimmings. Now, of course, Harley can go even higher than that on some of their dressers, but we're not going to get into that. Options include a comfort package that can get you heated seats, heated handlebar grips, and engine air vents located by the foot pegs, which this one does have. This bike doesn't have a heater, like it doesn't have a heater core. What these vents are, they just duct hot air from the engine around your legs. It's got a lot of storage room, and you can adjust the windscreen. And you even get a reverse button, which is way more useful than you think. Boy, I don't need a reverse button on your bike. Yeah, you don't until you do. Motorcycle guys know this, but here's how you get a reverse gear on a sequential 6-speed. You run the starter motor in reverse. Hey, it works. Just don't use it too much. But oh my goodness, is a reverse gear useful. Like when you park slightly downhill, nose first, you forgot to back in at that parking space, and then you got, oh no, and you gotta lurch the bike back. You gotta do that thing where you're standing above the seat, you got your both hands on the handlebars, and you have to the whole bike back, and then you immediately grab the front brake, and you get like a half an inch that way, and you're just trying to move the bike back. Reverse gear. Easy. The problems with this Goldwings are the little things. For instance, there are 2 radiators. It has 2 radiators. Liquid-cooled engine, 2 radiators, one on either side of the bike, and you have to tear up half the damn motorcycle just to get to the air filter. To make matters worse, Philips Goldwings, you know these hot air vents we were talking about? You don't shut those things off. The only thing you can do is close the vents and still hot air gets through, which is great in the autumn, which it is, but during the summer, you almost want to just take Gorilla Tape and just tape those things closed. This is a 1,800cc flat six engines, which is up from the 1.5 we were talking about earlier. You see, the GL 1800 was the first Goldwing in 13 years, featuring sequential port fuel injection, reduced weight from the GL 500. Yeah, that's one unique thing about the Goldwings. They don't always get bigger every single year. Sometimes they get smaller. Now, that's thanks to the new aluminum frame. This is also dimensionally smaller than the GL 1500s. This generation of Goldwing was also the first motorcycle in the world to offer an airbag, which this one doesn't have, but again, that's an option. The idea of an airbag on a motorcycle is to keep you from flying over the handlebars. It's not going to keep you on the bike in a crash, it's just going to make you fall sideways. But hey, I'll take it. Some mechanics will refer to the GL 1800 models produced from 2000 to 2010 as the first gen 1800s, while all bikes produced from 2012 onwards were considered second gen models. But that all depends on how much significance you want to place on the Goldwing name, since this is, Goldwing is sometimes two words and sometimes it's one word. Because this is a completely different bike than the first one that we were talking about that hit in the 70s. The increased engine displacement really shows in the final product, since this Goldwing is much faster than a bike this size has any right to be. The torque curve, completely flat. So at the wheel, it's about 96 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque. Its power and speed are downright deceptive in the sense that it feels far lighter than it actually is. Now this really is, if you take all the panels off of this, it's a sport bike underneath. Granted, calling this a sport bike is like, it's a bigger misnomer than the term Apple Genius Bar. The Goldwing has a reputation of one of the most dependable touring motorcycles ever made, and it's hard to really argue with that when the finished product holds up so well. The loudest thing you're hearing is the fuel injectors going. The baffles on the exhaust are so good. That's that whine that you hear. And you hear it when you ride too. It just goes as you lay onto it. I suppose you could make your aftermarket, I suppose you could put on your own aftermarket pipes if you have zero taste, because that's not what a Goldwing is about. Oh, but going back to how fast this thing is. Oh, Harley guys would hate this. It's so freaking quick. I go to pass somebody. Like, I'm going to pass this guy. Drop down a gear, lay on it a bit, look down and doing 90. It goes from 40 to 90 so freaking fast. Yeah, it's okay, it's a liter sport bike will break this, but the Goldwing is made for sitting at 100 miles an hour for hour after hour after hour with no problems. There's a butt ton of controls on these handlebars. I don't know what half this stuff does. Rider to passenger communication, CB radios. All made to be controlled by your thumbs and your fingers and little trigger buttons here. It's like riding an 80s sci-fi movie. I do concede that the Goldwing is so good that it moves away from what motorcycling is really about, because the aerodynamics are so fantastic, there's no wind buffering at all. It just cuts the wind right around you and you sort of sit in this shell of calm air as you ride. So that could be a complaint. But again, you're buying the greatest motorcycle ever made. I am intimidated by its size when I'm moving this bike around at low speeds. Because all that fairing, it's like this isn't a dual sport. If you drop this, oh my goodness, that's expensive. Also, it's not a bike for splitting lanes. It's not a bike for hooning, because as you ride, the fairing is so large you almost feel like a car. Cue the smart asses. Well, why don't you just get a car? And to that I say, why don't you go back to the gym and change every single one of the TVs to news? I know with more time on the bike, I would grow to enjoy its size and to enjoy all these features. I'm more of a fan of naked bikes than I are of these things. Although I've taken a number of road trips on naked bikes, and you really start wishing for wind protection. And that's what this bike gives you. I'm gonna cross the country on a motorcycle. Yeah, you're gonna start hating this decision before you even get to Ohio. The biggest thing the Goldwing does is it reduces the fatigue of riding a motorcycle. And that's something that's very real. When you're riding a motorcycle, you are paying attention way more intensely than you are in a car. You have to predict everybody else's mistakes. Now you can do that because on most motorcycles, you're sitting up higher than cars, some even higher than SUVs. And especially on a Goldwing and dual sports that have the riding position that encourages good posture. You are sitting straight up and down, you keep your back straight, good for the spine. People don't think motorcycles are ergonomic. Oh, yes, they are. So you're up high, you're looking through the windows and side windows and back windows and even the windshields. You're checking your six a lot, looking directly at drivers' eyes and trying to discern how dumb they are. You'll be surprised how many people you see looking down at their phones when you ride a motorcycle. Oh, they're out there. Anybody creeping into the intersection? That's a problem. Anybody making a left turn cross traffic? Problem. So you're always concentrating like this. Do you know how exhausted you feel after finals week? That. You didn't even work out that week, but your mind's going nuts. And that's partly why an hour is about as long as you can stand on a motorcycle before your attention starts to drop. And that's why traveling on a motorcycle takes a lot longer. The bike can certainly make it, but you can't. So by eliminating the noise of the wind, by smoothing out the ride, by eliminating distractions such as cold hands, sore butt, cold legs, you have more processing power to watch the road and watch all traffic. So you can ride a Goldwing much longer than you can really any other bike. And I can hear BMW squirming in the distance. But this bike is aptly named. It's the gold standard. It's the greatest motorcycle ever built.
I am a Goldwing. I am a Honda. I am a Goldwing.